Hi, I'm Kathleen Packett from Maine, and I'm doing a review of The 50th Law by 50 Cent and Robert Greene. Now, this book was recommended to me by a friend in my mastermind group, David Hine, and he got it from Eric War. Now, out of respect for both of these people's opinion, I decided to pick this book up and give it a read myself to see what kind of life experiences, lessons it had for me. So, Curtis Jackson, known as 50 Cent, was a young black man that grew up in South Queens, New York, and he became a hustler in the hood at a very young age. With great clarity, he shares what characteristics one must possess to create the outcome they want in life. Much to my amazement, I came away with a much different outlook on and a deeper understanding of people and how they react to life's environments. As 50 Cent described his days with the hood, it made me take a walk back in my own memory to growing up in a small town of 150 people in rural Maine, where money was very sparse, and the chance to overcome low income status only came by sheer determination. A few years ago, a friend of mine died on the operating table after her heart exploded. After a life of many hard struggles and different choices than I would have made. But as I reflected on her life and the choices of basically selling herself to attain things that she'd never had growing up, on that day I stopped judging why people make the choices that they make in life. Now, our living environments were not that different, but our role models were far apart. Now, I did not grow up in a wealthy home. We had no indoor bathroom. We had what was known as a two-holer in the shed. And it only had air conditioning when the wind blew, or in the wintertime, which was very chilly. Most of the time in the summer, we only had running water when we chose to run to the well and get it. So as I reflect back on the choices that my friend made, I realized it was her mode of survival and her way to break out of what was not afforded her in her family environment. I no longer judged her choices, but had a much deeper appreciation as to the choices that she made for her sense of survival. But I now wonder how many of the people that I grew up with, had we all had mentors, and I wonder about this for many people out there, if they had mentors to share with them the importance of reading other people's life's experiences, of learning how to overcome that adversity in our minds, get past the blockages and the beliefs that we grow up with. We don't all have the chance to have somebody physically there, but through reading we can experience those people's lessons. And to keep those dreams that we have as children, to know that we can keep expanding on those dreams and taking the action that it takes to move towards them, no matter what kind of an environment that we live in or come from. Will it be easy? Most likely not. As we are always being tested in life as to, is that really what we want? Are we willing to do and take the action required to get to where we want to go? And I'm ashamed to say that I judged the actions of my friend from a very narrow sphere of beliefs of what should or should not have been or be. Instead of putting myself in the environment of a home where there wasn't enough food or enough money, and when a can of soup was opened, that more water was added to it than it should have been to make it go around for a meal. But looking back now, I realized that even though my parents had no more than an 8th grade education, they had an inner strength to survive, a real sense of purpose. To be able, they choose to get up every day and go to work. It didn't matter how they felt or what physical challenges they may have been given. My dad worked on what was known as a pickup crew for Maplewood Poultry. And what this involved, he worked off the back of a flatbed truck where the crates were stacked as the hens were being taken out of the hen house to head toward the processing plant. They worked at night in all kinds of weather. And then this particular night, it was snowing. Snow and the ice was building up on the crates. And he took a really nasty fall off those crates to the ground, breaking several ribs. But he finished his shift that night. And when he got home the next day, in as much pain as he was in, he had my mom wrap up his chest very tight with an ace bandage. He rested that day and got up that night and returned to work because he felt this intense responsibility to his family, because you weren't given sick days. If you didn't work, you didn't get paid, and he had mouths to feed. So he may not have been able to teach me a lot about bookwork, but he taught me a lot about life and what you needed to do in order to survive. It didn't matter what kind of grief, pain, or sorrow that you were feeling, or what kind of challenges that you were given, but you always picked yourself up by the bootstraps and you got on with the job of life. Talking about this brings back such intense emotion for me about what my mom and dad must have gone with. They both must have gone through raising 7 children without any conveniences, much less enough money to go around many times. But yet, with that passion, with that drive, that was what they were able to pass on to their children. And not everybody has that same advantage, but they can get it through other people's experiences. So my suggestion is to pick this book up, not judge who Curtis Jackson was to begin with, but who he became and the valuable lessons he shares with all who are willing to receive them. So peace and much success be with you.